All right, let's just jump right in. We're about to pull back the curtain on this hidden system, right? A blueprint that's, believe it or not, 150 years old, and it is quietly controlling so much of our daily lives. You're living inside this system right now, and you probably don't even know it exists. So today, we're going to make it visible.
I mean, really? Think about this for a second. Next time you're driving, just look. Check the price at one petrol station, then look at the one across the street and the one down the block. They're almost identical, right? Down to the pesa. We're always told this market is deregulated, that it's a free-for-all. Well, if that's true, where's the price war? Shouldn't someone be trying to sell just a little bit cheaper to get all the business? But they don't. Why is that?
And then there's this. Do you remember back in 2016 when Geo launched? It was insane. Free data, free calls, it felt like they were just giving away money. But we all know in the real world, nothing's ever truly free. So how on earth did they pull that off? How does a company spend billions building this massive network and then just give the service away? It was a move that absolutely crushed their competition.
Well, the answer to both of those puzzles isn't something you'll find in a modern MBA textbook. It comes from a playbook written more than a century ago. So what you think is just normal, healthy competition, it's often something else entirely. It's a carefully built system designed to get rid of competition altogether.
So who was the brilliant mind behind this system? Well, his name was John D. Rockefeller. You've probably heard the name. He was history's first billionaire and the man who perfected a method that today's biggest companies are still using, pretty much word for word.
To really get this, you have to understand the man himself. Look at this. His father was literally a con man who sold fake cancer cures from a wagon. So from him, Rockefeller learned how to be cunning, how to be ruthless. But his mother was a devoutly religious woman, and from her, he got this unshakable belief that he was actually chosen by God to bring order to the chaos of industry. Just think about that mix. It created a guy who could bankrupt a rival without losing a minute of sleep, because in his mind, he was doing God's work. That is a seriously powerful combination. Back in the 1860s, America was in the middle of a massive oil rush. It was like the Wild West. Everyone was gambling, drilling holes in the ground, just hoping to get rich quick. But Rockefeller, he saw it differently. He realized drilling was just a lottery, a game of chance. The real money, the guaranteed money, wasn't in finding the oil. It was in refining it. Because it didn't matter who struck oil, they all had to come to a refiner to turn that crude gunk into useful stuff, like kerosene. He chose the sure thing over the gamble. And this is where he built his two-part strategy. A playbook so incredibly effective, it became the foundation for almost every huge corporation that came after him. So let's break it down. Okay, the first strategy is called vertical integration, and the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Just don't depend on anybody else. If you need something for your business, you either buy it or you build it yourself. You control every single step of the process from start to finish. Let's make this super simple. Imagine you're selling tea on the street. You could buy your milk from the dairy, your tea leaves from a wholesaler, your sugar from a grocer, but every single one of those people takes a cut, right? They're eating into your profits. Or you could do it the Rockefeller way. You own the cow for the milk, you grow your own tea, you make your own sugar, and you keep all the profit. That's what he did with oil. He didn't just refine it, no. He bought the forests for the wood to make his own barrels. He built his own warehouses. He even cut secret deals with the railroads to ship his stuff for way, way cheaper than anyone else. By owning the whole chain, he could make his product so cheaply that nobody could possibly compete on price. So once he had the lowest costs in the game, he moved on to phase 2, horizontal integration. And this is the really aggressive part. This isn't about being efficient anymore. This is about systematically going after and getting rid of every single one of your competitors until you're the only one left. And he put this plan into action with terrifying speed. In an event that historians now call the Cleveland Massacre, Rockefeller went to his 26 competitors in the city, and the offer was brutally simple. Sell your company to me at this fair price, or I will drive you into the ground. And for anyone who said no, he just dropped the price of his own kerosene so low that they were losing money on every barrel they sold. They had two choices, sell out to him or go bankrupt. And the results were just staggering. This chart really shows you how effective it was. In just 3 months, his company, Standard Oil, went from being a small player with just 4% of the market to controlling a quarter of it, 25%. It was a hostile takeover of an entire city's industry.
And then he just ran the same play again, city by city, state by state. By 1879, only 7 years later, he'd done it. Standard Oil controlled 90% of all oil refined in the United States. That's not a business, that's a monopoly. And when there's no competition, well, you, the customer, have no other choice. But being a monopoly creates two massive problems. First, they're illegal. And second, everybody hates you. Rockefeller was called a robber baron. He was the most hated man in America. So the system had to evolve to protect itself. So his lawyers came up with this absolute stroke of genius, a legal loophole called the trust. See, on paper, Standard Oil was now dozens of separate independent companies. But in reality, all of their stock was controlled by a tiny group of trustees, with Rockefeller at the head. So it looked like competition, but it was all one giant machine. And if that sounds familiar, it should. This is the great-grandfather of the modern holding company. Think of Alphabet, which owns Google and YouTube and Android, or Meta, which owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. It's the exact same playbook. Eventually, of course, the government caught on. In 1911, the Supreme Court finally ordered Standard Oil to be broken up for good. And you'd think, okay, game over, he lost. But here's the craziest part. Rockefeller still owned a piece of all 34 of the new baby companies that were created. And if you look at the numbers, the combined value of those separate shares was way more than the value of the original single company. The government trying to break him up actually made him richer, way richer.
So to fix his other problem, the fact that everyone hated him, Rockefeller wrote the final, and maybe the smartest chapter of his playbook, Massive Large-Scale Philanthropy. He set up these huge foundations, funding hospitals, medical research, universities. It was a brilliant PR move. It completely changed his public image from a villain to a saint. It allowed him to influence public policy for generations, and of course, it saved him an absolute fortune in taxes. It's a model that basically every billionaire follows to this day.
Okay, so this isn't just some boring history lesson. This 150-year-old game is being played right now, all around you, by the companies you use every single day. Let's look at how this blueprint is being used in our world.
Let's go back to Geo. Look at this. It is literally the same game. Rockefeller used secret deals with railroads to get an unfair advantage. Geo spent billions to acquire a massive amount of spectrum. Rockefeller started brutal price wars with cheap kerosene. Geo gave away free data and free calls. And the result was exactly the same. Competitors were either forced to merge with each other to survive, or they just went out of business. It is the Cleveland Massacre 2016 edition.
And what about Amazon? It is a textbook, modern-day example of vertical integration. They own the store you shop on. They own the giant warehouses. They own the delivery network that brings the box to your door. They even own the computer servers, AWS, that power a huge piece of the internet, including their own competitors like Netflix. And then they use the data from their sellers to create their own Amazon Basics products to compete against them on their own platform. It is pure Rockefeller. Or take Google, that 92% market share in search. That's even more dominant than Standard Oil was at its absolute peak. And you might think, yeah, but it's free. Well, is it? You're not paying with money. You are paying with your data. Every single search you make, every place you go with maps, every video you watch, all of that information about you, that is the product. And it is incredibly valuable. It's a monopoly so total, we don't even feel like we're paying the price.
So here's the bottom line. You can't really escape this system. It's the water we're all swimming in. Your phone, your social media, your shopping, your information, it's all tied up in this. The idea that you have unlimited choice, it's mostly an illusion. So if you can't get out of the game, what's your next move?
The way I see it, you've really got three choices. Path one, just accept it. Enjoy the incredible convenience of Amazon Prime and Google Maps, and don't worry about it. Path two, you can fight it. Support local businesses, use alternative search engines, fight the good fight. But you gotta know it's a really tough uphill battle against a hyper-efficient machine. And then there's a third path. Understand how the game is played and buy a piece of the game. If you know this system is designed to funnel wealth to these massive companies, well, you can become a part owner of those companies by investing. Don't just be the customer. Own a piece of the casino.
You see, Rockefeller's real legacy isn't the money he made. It's the system he designed, a system of control, consolidation, and influence that is more powerful today than he could have ever dreamed. You can't escape it, but now